So we are starting פירק Shmini of Hilchos Yesodei Torah. So yeah, this is about Torah Sinai, and I think it's very interesting. Even before we read it, that he put the stuff about the difference between Moshe's nevuah and the other neviim in a previous in the previous chapter, instead of putting it all here. And I think that itself is something that we can infer something from.
Right. Funny that he put anything.
Yeah, right. He could have just saved all the Moshe Rabbeinu stuff for one פירק,
right,
and just did regular nevuah in the last.
Even like, this should be the first halacha on Yesodei Torah.
Yes, that's also true, right?
Okay. Or maybe start with Yesodi.
Yesodi.
Yeah,
Right.
I get carried away. Yeah. So I think it's interesting that like
Right.
It sounds like the phenomenon of Moshe Rabbeinu's nevuah is one topic, and then what it was for is another topic.
Yeah, I think it makes sense the way it is. Like, why would you put all the most of this stuff here? Like, it's a separate topic.
Well, I can see three possibilities for how he did it. Is one is the way he did it. The other one is putting the stuff about, because I feel like Moshe Rabbeinu's nevuah and Torah Min Hashemayim are linked, in the sense that that's why we needed that's one of the reasons we needed a Navi who is like Moshe Rabbeinu, to have an unquestionable Torah thing. So it's just the distribution of all these topics over chapter 7, 8, 9, and 10 is something we have to keep in mind. Maybe we shouldn't theorize quite yet, but just, I think there are other configurations and we should just keep that in mind when we read this. Okay. Moshe Rabbeinu. I almost said Rabbeinu Moshe. I don't know why. Moshe Rabbeinu, lo ha'aminu bo Yisrael mipnei ha'osos she'asa. Israel did not believe in him because of the signs that he did. So that's in direct contrast to the Navi, to the neviim from the previous one, where he said the signs are the reason why they believe in them, or at least that's the criterion. Shamami napia othos, because one who believes based on signs, yesh belibo dofi. There is dubiousness. There's doubt in his heart. Possible that he did the sign through sleight of hand or trickery. These are just two different words for deception, right? Ella, rather, kol ha'osos she'asa b'midbar l'fi Torah. Rather, all the signs he did in the midbar, he did them for a need. Lo lahavi raya al ha-nevuah, not to bring proof regarding the nevuah. Sarach lahashkia as hamitrim. It was necessary. He needed to drown the Egyptians. Kara as hayam, lambo. He split the sea and drowned them in it. By the way, just a side point here. What's the most common mistake people make in terms of how they envision Kriyas Yam Suf?
Not walking in.
That might be true. I think this is even more common because I think this is one that even non-learned Jews and non-Jews envision.
From the movie.
Yeah, from the movie. Yeah, right.
One split with the funnels.
No, I think that's also So I think people think that they crossed it. They crossed the Yam Suf, right?
Over?
Like from one side to the other, right? But they went in a U. They came out on the same side, and I know that that's definitely a shita of the Gemara and Ibn Ezra and Tosfos and Ralbag. And my question has always been: does anyone hold they actually went across to the other side? I did a search once. I haven't seen anyone actually say that. And I think one of the rise that they bring is if you look at like Matos Maseh or like wherever it talks about their journeys, if you follow the trajectory, like they're on the same side. That I don't know for sure, but the reason why I'm bringing this up now is because according to that, the purpose of going through the Yam Suf was not to get to the other side; it was just to drown the Mitzrayim, and that's what he says.
Why did the chicken cross the
Yeah, he did. Yeah, right. But he doesn't say like Sarach, Lavor, as a Yam, right? And not even they need to escape the Egyptians. It's Sarach lahashkia as a Mitzrayim. That's the only reason he split the sea. So I just think that's an interesting thing. Sarach and lamazon, we needed food. Horid lana as haman. He brought down the man for them, for us. Tamu, we were thirsty. Baka lahen as Evan. He split the stone. Kafru bo adas Korach. The assembly of Korach denied him. Bala o sanharet. The earth swallowed them. You think of this morning's pasuk? Bala oven. Yeah. That applies. Yeah.
I was appreciating how matter of fact.
Yeah, it was just casually. You need. What do you need? you know, just swallowing the rebels. Yeah, yeah. The faint charcoal also. Same thing with all the other signs.
I don't know, maybe it's like you jump into I don't know. Like some of the other things were to like make them modern.
Yes.
That's like
Yeah,
that's
that was
the
my
whole
question
thing in the
also.
beginning of the origin.
Right.
Actively being like
Yeah,
and the knowledge.
right. He says right. So I think you've got two classes. You have the signs that were explicitly given so that it's known that Moshe was sent by God, right? That's like the most contradictory way of saying. And then there's, I assume what you meant by the other ones is to demonstrate ideas about God.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Like,
I feel like Torah was to show that these people, like to show that Moshe's nevuah was like they believe.
right. And he even kind of like he addresses that here, like kafrubo adas korah. That's the Torah. I mean, how is that not lahavi raya al nevuaso?
Right. You can
Yeah.
feel it, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Right.
right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good question.
Is it possible? Oh no, but Torah was after Moses.
Yeah. I mean, there is a okay. So I think there is an answer though.
Mhm.
Can we think of it?
No.
Okay. Let's stop. Yeah.
Well, none of these are proven. None of these
Yeah.
are just maybe a certain principle Korach was denying that he has to show is not true, or just to get rid of them, get rid of
Right.
them.
That's why I mentioned the three specific ones.
Oh yeah.
Like, for,
Yeah.
Oh,
Even that. Yeah.
I mean, that's like before Mount Torah, and there was no other, like there is a phenomenon of listening to a Navi based on Osos.
Right.
So that was like in that parsha. And then-
Yeah. So could you say that? And maybe we should be responsible and look the psukim. We do that. Yeah. Be responsible.
Well, also, when no idea of listening to nothing because it has also is only practice.
Well, how did what about
Right.
Avram and Yitzchak and Yaakov? Like, how do people believe?
When nothing has to believe in themselves,
No, I know, but how do other
that's
people?
Right. So I know how the Rambam answers that because he says that they never ever claimed to do something based on nevuah. They taught everyone based on the ideas, and then they did stuff based on nevuah, but they never said like God told me that you have to do such and such.
Oh, it's I guess Moshe didn't do that.
Right.
Oh, he did do that before Moses, like Tarsina.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, really corn face off. Right. Yeah. But yeah, there's a problem.
Oh, so often having that. He doesn't recently say for me that. Like, yeah,
Let me just go.
it's not like looking to like,
Right, but doesn't Hashem respond by talking about Sinai?
What's that in your hand?
Oh, wait. Well, he mentioned Sinai earlier, right? Is it in Gimel?
Oh yeah, it's Yudino.
You get Gimel Yud Beis or Dalet? Yeah. Right. So this is Moshe says in Yud Aleph.
Yeah.
Well, really, first Hashem says in Yud. That's when he first mentions the shlichut, I think. V'ata lecha ve'eshlacha el paro v'hote es ami v'nei Yisrael miMitzrayim. Then v'yomer Moshe el ha'elokim mi anochi ki elech el paro ki oti es b'nei Yisrael miMitzrayim. So that's not even saying how will they believe me. That's just saying, am I going to be the one who does this? V'yomer ki eya imach v'zelecha ha'os ki anochi shalachticha. Right. So that is the oath that I sent you. This is the oath that I sent you. V'hotziacha es ha'am miMitzrayim tavdun es ha'elokim al ha'har hazeh. This is the sign that I send you when you take the people out from Mitzrayim. So it's already like at the end of the mission. Tavdun es ha'elokim al ha'har hazeh. You shall serve God on this mountain. Vayomer Moshe el ha'elokim. Hine ba el bnei Israel v'amarti lahem Elokei avosechem shalachani aleichem v'amru li mashmo ma'omar aleichem. Yeah, right. And then he gives them the name, right? And then he gives them the signs. Yeah, this is problematic.
Yeah.
So can we differentiate? Okay, this might sound like I'm just trying to wiggle out of the question because I am, but is there a difference between a raya that Moshe was sent from Hashem and a raya on his nevuah? I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility.
I have a different.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it possible he was just saying like, this is what you should do to get saved? And he's just like telling them something. He's not like commanding them.
Mhm.
He's just saying like, do the korban pesach and like then you'll get saved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I can't read this really earlier. But there is another way to say that inside one of like Ryan's and
Okay.
you just like further explanation of like what exactly happened.
Go on. You're intriguing me.
Well, for funny, I'm like when I did dinner, it's like 10 to 20 minutes.
Oh, so if you can give Ulrich Achas version.
I didn't know like each individual post had like a message that was like pertaining to what was happening to the tribe.
Mhm.
It's not like making that like the mission I you won't be doing the
Right.
part from the and like
Right.
we're gonna turn on at once and like I know what's happening and like I like presenting that I think the not part of like representing
I mean, Taro or something. I don't
yeah.
know.
When no one says it to him,
Mhm.
when it comes
Right.
Well, I think these particular times because it's
Uh-huh.
like they're liars, but they're often either just like messages. And like I think the not part of it that like the recognition that the prediction like I can start living the states and that like God recognized that and like that demonstrated by one percent for each of the snake,
Mhm.
then the snake, other people. And then the other time, I don't remember.
All right. I get the concept you're saying.
Yeah,
So
like it wasn't like just like I had like a miracle and like Ryan and
Right.
like nevuah, but like the oaths themselves were like particular messages.
and you can say that that's a Torah. There was a
yeah,
Torah to get those
and
messages.
not just like Ryan that emotion was enough.
Right. Yeah.
I have a different
I
explanation.
also have a different one. Yeah.
I'm going to explain the Rambam differently
Okay.
because
Took him hard.
yeah, and I'd like to stick with radical stuff.
In the Rambam.
Yeah. So, I think the Rambam is talking about like the ultimate belief in Moshe. Like I'm saying, I think at the time they believed in him because of the signs.
Yeah.
And they could have had that, but then all that doubt was eliminated.
Yeah.
And there were the 10 machos, which were to like show specific ideas,
Mhm.
and to demonstrate God's power.
Mhm.
And that's like what they were for. And the Rambam doesn't mention any of those.
Yeah.
He starts after that.
Right.
Those weren't the demonstrative like miracles.
Right.
And
In fact, he even says, "Ela kol ha'ozo she'asa b'midbar."
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, so everything that he did after that, everything he did after the miracles that are supposed to demonstrate, like there was miracles that he did that are supposed to demonstrate things, including the fact that Hashem sent him.
Mhm.
And the miracles after that were for specific purposes.
Mhm. Right. That's a good read. Yeah.
And I'm saying the same thing in that particular thing of why it's not just right.
Right.
There's something it seems like like also like
Yeah.
Ryan not
Yeah.
understanding similar to the models.
Yeah. That's a good read. I never noticed that in the Rambam also with the midbar thing. And then another thing also is like just maybe another just simple reading of the Rambam is that bringing a raya for something, it's not like you either have raya or it's baseless. Like there is an in between ground that they have like reason to follow Moshe Rabbeinu, but they don't know for certain. And the Rambam seems to be emphasizing the lack of certainty. So like Moshe did do these miracles to and the signs and stuff to convince them that Hashem sent him, but it's just not an absolute conviction. And the real emuna, the emuna without Dofi, would only at Har Sinai, as he's about to say. Yeah, I think that's like plain shot in the Rambam also. Yeah. He's gonna say that now. With what did they believe in? The Ma'amad Har Sinai. With the how do you guys translate Ma'amad Har Sinai? I always have a hard time translating it to English. I would just say the event of Har Sinai. That's not a translation of Ma'amad. Like the standing. It just sounds weird though, right? Like the standing at Har Sinai.
Yeah.
The gathering, like.
That's like the literal translation.
I know, it's just weird though. I feel like we should have a word in English for that, like a standing gathering. Standoff. Yeah.
So they said off the back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Standing is like not the right conjugation.
No.
That would be like amida starts, right?
Yeah. Well, the standing like they were stood at
Yeah.
Arsina. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That'd be Ma'amid, I guess. But whatever. Inenu ra'u v'lozar. Our eyes saw, and not those of the stranger. V'oznenu shamu v'lo acher. Our ears heard, and not that of another. Ha'esh v'alkolos v'alapidim. The fire and the thunder or the sounds and the lapidim. How do you translate lapidim?
Oh, the sounds.
Lapidim are the sound,
Yeah,
right?
lightning.
The fire he speaks of things like
Right.
we don't. I mean, it's not like we have the word barak, right, for lightning, right?
Oh, okay.
Is lapid different?
I think lapid is
Lapid ish?
like fire.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the fire thingies.
Not.
These are not lapid.
Oh yeah, it's
Right.
like, I don't know what it.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. Behu nigash el ha'arafel. He went into the arafel is like deep darkness, right? V'hakol midaber elav, and the voice spoke with him. The anu shomim, we heard Moshe lech emor lehem kach v'kach, which is funny because that's not actually a pasuk.
Yeah, where did you get that from?
Yeah, I mean, the closest thing is when Hashem tells him to go like lech raid ha'id ha'am, right?
Right. That's something like.
Yeah, I'll let you look it up because I don't want to share the other windows and.
Sure. Yesod.
Yep. Probably in 19.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
Um. It might not be in Yesod, is that possible? I remember it being like a little later.
I mean,
Yeah.
Well, see, here's what I thought in it for 1903.
Oh.
Let's see. I guess I should share the screen.
Moshe Allah Elohim.
Yeah.
Vayikra Elav Hashem Nahar Leimar Ko Somar Levis Yaakov.
Yeah. So is that? I don't know if that's something that they're hearing though. That's the only question. I think there's something else though. Hold on. Let's go on.
Well, I remember not being
10.
clear.
And the worst thing about Moshe, left el ham b'ktir shamayim u'machar b'ktiv kozim l'cham hayun. Yeah, yeah. So these all sound like private communications, right?
Like every other time, guys.
Yeah. You're thinking about Chanan?
No, it was tough. Maybe the end of Mishpat.
That could be. That is another place.
Oh yeah. What about top down iyun? Amar from Moshe Alei Eli Hahara Ve'heya Sham Ve'Melachas Luvos Havan Torah. Yeah, not clear that it's public.
I
No.
don't know why it's any other time, guys.
I mean, Moshe definitely says in Devarim, he says when he's recounting the event that that they heard Hashem speak with him. Let's look at the 11 here.
No?
I think it's in Vayeschanan. I think it's in Daled. I'm looking here now. Yeah. No, that's Hashem speaking to you. I mean, that's even better, but.
Right.
Well, yeah, what bothers me is that, like, that we go.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm on.
Right. Well, I'm gonna go eat pork. Yeah.
Are these the only words that we heard God speak?
That's also a matter of dispute, right?
Okay, Luchos.
Yeah. Was it all Sarasa Dibros? Was it the first two? Was it words?
Right.
Yeah.
Is anyone else there around them? No good? On one of them?
I don't know. I mean, this is the only statement I'm aware of that.
I've never heard this before.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing that when I on the Rambam.
Oh yeah. Well, it's definitely in the Rambam, but yeah.
But also, he said something different more about them, right?
Yeah, that we're not touching. Yeah.
Why did you just say that they heard God?
Yeah, that's the better Mishnah Torah Bekius question.
That would serve the same
Yeah.
function and
Right.
maybe better.
Wait, what?
No, actually, it wouldn't though.
Well, I
Right?
know you wouldn't because they're not feeling them heart and emotion.
Yeah, 'cause
You
this
know
is
that
all-
God is
Right. This is all like authorizing Moshe's nevuah. You
Right.
know. Yeah. All right. Let's read on in the Rambam just to get how he's trying to depict what this accomplished here. Right. So the Kol spoke to him. Anu shomim Moshe lech emor lahem kach v'kach. V'chein hu omer. Likewise, it says panim b'panim diber Hashem imachem. Face to face, Hashem spoke with you. V'nemar, and it says lo as avosechem karas as Hashem as a bris azot. That Hashem did not seal this covenant with your forefathers. Yeah, so there's three. I can't call them psukim. Three examples, right? The one that is not a pasuk. Then the pasuk of face to face Hashem spoke with you, and then the pasuk before that, which is also weird that he quotes them out of order.
Yeah.
That Hashem sealed a covenant with you, but that you could seal a covenant with someone without hearing. You could seal a covenant without hearing God. That's number one. But also, that has nothing to do with God speaking to Moshe.
right.
Panim b'panim divrei Hashem imachem also doesn't have to do with Moshe.
Right.
Right.
Well, I guess if we heard God speak as an extension of Moshe's nevuah, then
Right.
we experience.
Right. I mean, I guess that is the point he's making, is that our eyes saw and our ears heard.
Mhm.
The first point he makes is so what are these 3 points? Is that one is God speaking to Moshe, and now we haven't figured out where it says on Psukim. Second one is a direct communication to us.
Mhm.
And then the third is that the covenant is based on this direct interaction, that we're not relying on someone else for the covenant.
Right. I
I don't think so. I mean, Dibra Imachem sounds like he's talking with them, right?
Well, you know, like that's part of their rule that they understood that when God
Well, what's shot? I mean, I don't know if this is shot. What's shot? Isn't there? They make the distinction that the first 2 Dibras are in the second person singular, right? Lo yeh lecha Elohim achirim apanai. And so I in my head is the fact that like God was speaking to each and every person.
Hmm.
Is that shot, or is that like a drasha that people say? Yeah. Yeah. Whereas, let's say the other ones was Moshe relaying it to the people.
Well, it's certainly that trap when you that okay at all.
It's certainly what?
Not when you that at all.
Yeah, that's hush with John. Yeah. Just one other question also. So panim b'panim diber Hashem imachem. So that you're saying might be them hearing Hashem speaking to Moshe.
Right. Not like
Yeah, right.
One that I
mean, that's implied by the v'chein.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, right. But then the other thing is also is lo es Hashem karas Hashem as bris. Isn't that at the end of Mishpatim?
That he steal the bris.
Yeah.
Right. Why is
There's no bris at Sinai. There's no bris in Yisrael. I know there's a chronology of Mishpatim is also confusing about whether that happened there, but that was like the sprinkling of the blood on the people, I thought. This is not so simple. This is every time I go back to this פירק, I understand less and less.
Yeah.
I know.
Don't do it too much.
I know. Yeah. Was it Mishpatim 24? Is that what you said? Or I mean, Shemot 24?
That was the end of Mishpatim.
Yeah.
Because it's really to be able to
It's not worth it. Yeah, Zion.
Yeah, you have to
I just said which part of the pork.
Oh, no.
I was like, I think pork belly's good. Yeah. Zion. Vayikach sefer habris vayikra b'oznei ha'am v'yomer kol asher diber Hashem na'aseh v'nishma. Vayikach as Moshe as Adam v'yizrok al ha'am v'yomer hine dam habris asher krat Hashem imachem al kol hadvarim ha'eleh. Right. That's the sealing of the bris.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but unclear whether this is like at Har Sinai. Isn't it unclear? Isn't some machlokas Rishonim?
Wait, is anything like now Moshe and Aaron none of it you that you ever Israel
Yeah, that's the vision. Yeah, Tzili B'nai Israel.
Yeah.
This is not a Thursday endeavor.
No.
This is I don't have the energy for this. No, it's not.
No.
So let's see if let's take that as our guide. Let's see what the Rambam wants us to get out of this. Okay, I mean, obviously this is a Pirish and Torah blah 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 blah. But like, let's see like what the points we get here. You know, uminayin shebamavad Har Sinai levado he haraya l'nevuah she emes shein bo dofi. So that's the support for what I was saying, which is that it's not he did bring rise to his nevuah, but he didn't bring rise shein bo dofi. The rayas were all the others in Mitzrayim, you know, and you can still read that the way Isaac is doing it, that the others is in Midbar were not for raya at all, you know.
So okay, so those couldn't have been good like Ladoros if you just had those.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Shenemar. So how do we know? Because it says, "Hine anochi ba'elecha ba'avhanan, ba'avur yishmaham b'dabri imach v'gam b'cha yaminu lolam." Behold, I will come to you in a thick cloud, in order that the people should hear when I speak with you. So that's okay. Whatever. V'gam b'cha yaminu lolam, and also in you they believe in forever. Right. So that is the most explicit reference to the fact that people will hear God speak to Moshe. You know, it's just that there's no quotation marks that
say that.
That quote that thing. Yeah.
That is weird.
It's very
weird. Rambam put that earlier and that I'm throwing those conversion a lot. Right. Actually went the most explicit right.
Yeah, more than
right.
The verse. Forget the verse thing.
Yeah,
more than the 100 thing.
Yeah. But not more. Well, the funny thing, right? The funny thing helps in terms of like vouching for Hashem, just not for nevuas Moshe. Because we all hear, then, to quote a certain famous rebel, he kol ha'ida kulam kedoshim. Right? I mean, that was a chorus argument. We all heard.
They're gonna make a Star Wars reference.
Oh.
I don't know. I was Torah. And I'm like, no way. It's gonna be
Wow. I tarnished my own reputation. Yeah. Yeah. Right. That was chorus argument, I think. It's like we all heard Hashem speak at Sinai, you know.
Right.
I guess Korach didn't read this Rambam. And Moshe, he missed that.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, I do feel like if that having that level of nevuah, like, is a raya to the fact that, like, now we know what it's like, I guess, or whatever, to have Moshe's nevuah. So that doesn't that function as like a proof that he needs nevuah at least?
I don't know.
No,
The whole. So, do we finish reading the halacha or not?
the whole prophet in
Oh, the whole.
You know the whole thing. Because it says, I remember saying, look at you there, look at that, I thought that I learned of working in Israel and reading off the Alpha and you know. And then it continues, you Moshe and Israel on the
It's different on Hashem. So that's Moshe reporting back from the people to him. Okay. So we didn't finish reading the halacha though. Michlal, this implies shekodem davar zeh, that before this thing, lo haminu bo ne'emas shehi omes lolam, that they did not believe in him with a belief that would last forever. Ella ne'emas sheyesh acharav hirhu u'machshava, but it was an amount that had after it suspicion and thought. Right.
So they were mamin, just not literal.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be shaken. Right.
And I think it's a long thing you don't have to go through, but why is that thing of the person experiencing his nevuah, like why is that not good enough?
Because that doesn't prove that Moshe has a special designation, I feel like.
Okay.
Right? Is that if they heard Hashem speak to Moshe directly, you know, and they witnessed that, but it was directed at Moshe, then that would be enough to say that Moshe is the one who's designated as the one who Hashem is speaking to. But if we all hear it equally, So then who's to say that Moshe has any sort of like claim? Like, why can't my neighbor then claim that he also got a special nevuah from God, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Rambam has a really good shot on this, which I'm refraining from like sharing because it's not Rambam Bekius.
We do that.
I think I just really want to.
That'd be good. Yeah.
As a non.
Say it again. Go through the psukim. Yeah, well, that's what the Rambam does a good job with of saying what each pasuk does. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Next year, Rambam Bekius here. Nimsu elu sheshulach lam. So it turns out that those to whom he was sent, I think that's how you write it, right? Haim ha'edim al nevuaso shehi emes. They are the witnesses to his prophecy, shehi emes, that it's true. Ve'eno tzarech la'asot lahem oath. And he doesn't need to do a sign. Shehein v'hu echad b'davar. They and he are one in the matter. Kishnei edim shera'u davar echad b'yachad. Like two witnesses who saw something together. Shekol echad mehen eid lachavero. Each one is a witness to his friend. Shehu omer emes, that he's saying truth. Neither one of them needs to bring a proof to his friend. Moshe Rabbeinu, so too with Moshe Rabbeinu. Kol Yisrael edim lo achar mamad har Sinai. All of Israel is witnesses to him after the event at Sinai. Ve'eno tzarech lasos lahem os, and he doesn't need to do a sign for them. That always stands out in my mind as a powerful analogy there, right? If you and I both see something, I don't need a raya that you saw it. We both saw it, and I don't need to bring a ride for you. I don't need to bring a ride for you that you saw it. We're both in the experience.
Right.
Right.
And I thought that you saw it.
And you thought that I saw it, and I thought that you saw it. Yeah. And then he spells it out. V'zehu she'amar lo kadosh baruch hu b'tchilas nevuah. So this is what he said to him at the beginning of his nevuah. The eighth shenatan lo ha'otos la'asot b'mitzrayim. When at the time when he did these signs to say in Egypt. V'amar lo, and he said to him, v'shamu l'kalecha. So God said to Moshe, they will listen to your voice. Yada Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe knew that someone who believes based on signs has doubt in his heart, and he's suspicious and he thinks. And he was reluctant to go. And he said, they will not believe me. Until God made known to him, that's another raya for the way I'm reading it. That these miracles are bringing a proof, but only to get them out of Mitzrayim.
Okay.
Right? And after they leave and they stand at this mountain, then God will remove the doubt that the suspicion that they're suspicious of him for. And I'll give you a sign that they will know that I sent you in truth from the beginning. Believe I'm here, and there's not going to remain any suspicion in their heart. This is what the pasuk says. That was the first pasuk that we read. Yeah. So it's funny. He talks about Har Sinai at the very beginning, and it's the last thing that happens before Har Sinai. Also, that's that's already there at Sinai in Yisro that we just read.
Right. So what is it saying both ways?
Basically talking about how Sinai is going to be the proof.
Oh.
Yeah. It's much more explicit in Yisro, but like.
Also, right, in Shemos at the beginning, it's weird that he says, they're gonna,
yeah, that's like very much with the lashon that he said to Paro every time he asked him to, let my people go so they can serve you. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a raya for nevuah. It sounds like a avoda. Yeah. Also unclear what the avoda was.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So Nimse Omer. So that's the end of this. Yeah. I mean, there's a new heading in our edition, but no. So are we good except for what is unresolved is the statement that Rambam quotes that is not explicitly said in the Pesukim. There's the emphasis. Yeah, I think the panim is what you were saying. They can partake somehow of the phenomenon of like observing a communication between God and Moshe, or phenomenon of nevuah itself.
Okay.
And then the bris thing he doesn't elaborate on. Like, why is it important that God made the bris with them instead of their fathers? That I feel like we do need to go into a Torah for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would do that, but I need the gauntlet. Yeah, for Thursday night here. I mean, for yeah, I love that. Yeah. Nimseisa Omer. So it turns out, consequently, Shekol Navi. Now he goes to other neviim. Shekol Navi Sheyamot Afar Moshe Rabbeinu. Any navi who arises after Moshe Rabbeinu. Ein anu ma'aminim bo mipnei ha'os levado. We do not believe him based on the sign alone. I never noticed the word levado before. Yeah.
That's interesting. We don't believe anyone now. I guess no one is believed just because of the sign.
Right. Kadesh Nomar, such that we would say im yase os, such that we would say that if he does a miracle, nishma lo, or if he does a sign, nishma lo l'chol mashi omar, we'll believe him whatever he says. Elam mipnei ha-mitzvah shetzivanu Moshe b'Torah. Rather, because of the mitzvah that Moshe commanded us in his Torah. Amar, and he said, im nasan os elav tishma'un. If he gives you a sign, you shall believe him. K'moshe tzivanu lachtoch hadavar al pi shnei edim. Just like, now he goes back to that mashal again. Just like he commanded us to decide the matter based on two witnesses. Even though we don't know if they actually testified truthfully or falsely. So too, mitzvah lishmoa mizeh hanavi. It's mitzvah to listen to this navi. Is this verbatim what he said at the end of the last paragraph, or is this different?
It might be.
I think I did not know that he said this twice. I think I only knew this instance of it, and then when we read it yesterday, I was like, "Oh, I guess I got the פירק wrong," But so let me just compare it. I'm going to read the one from yesterday, and you could follow along in this one, and you tell me if like there's major differences. He says, "Efter shiyate os umovet eno navi, v'zeh os yesh lo dvarim bego." The apopichein mitzvah lishmo lo. Hoil v'adam gadol hu v'chacham v'roil nevuah. Ma'amidin also al chezkato. Now here's the part that I think should be similar. Yeah, so there he emphasizes the chazaka. In ours, he doesn't emphasize the chazaka. Here he's emphasizing the procedure in 8.
Right.
And by chazaka, I mean also the fact that it's Adam Gadol and Chachma and Royal and Nevuah. He doesn't mention any of that here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's about determining what sort of like characteristics.
Right.
Here
Right.
it's about believing them because of the miracle.
Right. So here, this is more practically relevant in the sense that any navi is going to have to pass Moshe's criteria. There,
it was just why it's likely to think that he's.
Yeah, like why rationally should we rely on a navi even if we don't know for certain that he's a navi? And he's basically saying this is Adam Gadol B'Chachma, and like he has all these qualities, and like and he has a presumed status based on his oath that he's a navi. But so that's not legal. This is the legal one, like the Elav Tishma'un and Mipnei Shetziva. Does it say Tziva here? Oh yeah, Tziva. Kach mitzvah lishma midei navi. Yeah.
Saying that was illegal?
No, illegal. Yeah. Lefika. Oh, you know what we didn't do? We didn't read this mitzvah in the Sefer Mitzvos, which I also didn't copy. We can do that after. Lefika. Therefore, im amad navi. If a navi arises, the ata odod motim gedolim, and he does great and wondrous signs and wonders. And he seeks to undermine the nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu. In shom in lo. We don't listen to him. We don't obey him. But anu yodim b'yichud, and we know with yichud Hashem. No, I guess we know like with certainty. I mean, that's a weird word, like with specificity. Osana othos v'lat b'kishapain. With exactitude, maybe I don't know. It's a weird word. That those signs were done with trickery. Lefisha nevuas Moshe Rabbeinu ina al pi ha'osos. Hidesha na'aruch osos zeh la'osos zeh. That's the key line here. That the nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu is not based on miracles such that we would compare these miracles with these miracles, or the miracles of this one versus miracles of that one. Ella be'eninu re'inuha v'osnenu shma'unuha k'moshe shamahu. Rather, our eyes saw and our ears heard just like he did. Now he goes back to the witnesses model. It's like a guy who says, so witnesses testify to a person that he saw with his eyes, that what he saw with his eyes is she'enu k'mo shara. It's not what he saw. He's not going to listen to them. He's going to know that they're sheker. Or someone comes and says, you did not see, you didn't see anything, right? You're not going to believe him. You saw something. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Except, I mean, kind of strange because we ourselves didn't see it.
Right.
Like we are getting it through second knowledge.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
That doesn't exactly matter. But it's just a weird.
Yeah, he doesn't take the argument all the way full Torah Sinai.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But he is making an important distinction, which is that the only one who historically was seen to have nevuah, without a doubt, is Moshe.
Yeah.
And everything else is resting on the criteria that Moshe set forth. And that is based on a legal procedure or legal criteria, and Moshe's is not.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about that this morning, that I feel like we are a very, it's a unique religion in the fact that we distinguish between like legally certified prophets that we rely on but don't know that they're actually prophets for sure, and then like the one prophet that we're certain about. Like I feel like that's not even a distinction in other things. It's just like either this guy has prophecy or he doesn't, and like that's not based on any criteria other than like believing or judging. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even like Christians.
Yeah.
They sound like. Yeah.
Right. But like, and it almost sounds heretical to say, well, this guy could be an checker, but we're treating him as a navi legally,
right, and
obeying him, and we're following God's will by obeying him. That's why I like the Eidim Mashal, because it really does bring it into the halachic realm, halachic reality. Yeah. Lefikach Amra Torah. Therefore, the Torah said, "Im ba ha'os v'moves," that if the sign and the wonder comes true, lo tishma el divrei hanaviyahu. Don't listen to that guy, meaning of this false prophet who tries to undermine Moshe. This guy is coming with a sign and a wonder to undermine or to contradict what you saw with your eyes. Since we do not believe in the wonder, we only believe in because of the mitzvah that Moshe commanded us. How can we accept from this oath Sheba, which came lahachis nevuas of Moshe, that came to undermine the nevuah of Moshe. Inu v'sheshamanu, that we saw and we heard. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I'm not clear on why like why we'd say that like the events of Sinai were something that we couldn't have done.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding that is, so let's compare it to the Oseth Mitzrayim, right? So the example I always give is the Columbus thing, right? Did we talk about the Columbus thing with the eclipse? Let me just see if I have it. No, I don't have it. I was just doing a Google search on my computer. That I guess is a true thing that Columbus, when he got to the New World, he got there through celestial navigation. Like that's how you get across the Atlantic, right? Through the stars. So he told a certain group of Native Americans, like, trade with me or else my God will get angry and blot out the sun. And he timed it so that it lined up with an eclipse. And like the sun got blotted out, and like they traded with him, and then like it went back to normal. So he didn't really have any special connection with God, but he like knew that this was going to happen, and like he lined himself up with it, and they inferred that God was communicating to him, but correlation is not always causation, right? But if you hear God speak to Moshe and say, Moshe, Moshe, go say these things, so there's no ambiguity. In other words, it's not like you're witnessing a miracle and then inferring that God has connection to Moshe. You are witnessing the communication to Moshe. So that's what makes Sinai different than other stuff.
I guess I'm saying it's the thing that's bothering me. Like I can understand them, like the people who are actually there saying that.
Yeah.
But for us, in terms of talking about not having Dofi, like they, if you tell me you experienced something where it was like so clear, like it was so good that like you heard God speak,
right?
Like I can believe that you think that there was no possibility of it being anything else, but like how do I know that?
Right. So I think you have to differentiate between the doubt that comes from like just emotional doubt and rational doubt. Meaning that emotionally nothing is going to be as real to you as if you saw it yourself. If you see it yourself, then you experienced it and it's firsthand. And firsthand is always going to be more real than secondhand. But in the same way that you accept, a report that the Twin Towers were, attacked, and it's not real to you, but like you accept it rationally because it's an event that's unambiguous that people like testify to. That's the level that's the only level we can get to in terms of the event at Sinai. Yeah.
I'm not saying that person would be like the event didn't happen. I'm saying, let's say person say that people that like they heard a voice that they were heard as God.
Right.
Like without any doubt. But I could not doubt that event happened, but I could doubt that was God speaking.
Yeah. So that's the point that Rebbe makes in his thing is that like, okay, well, I realize this is not going to directly answer your question, but the point that Rebbe makes in his article, in fact, let me just get it here, so I can quote it directly. Torah, this one I know I have on my computer. Torah me Sinai. Oh, that's right. Torah from Sinai. Yeah. Torah from Sinai. And search for the word little. Little, there you go. All right, so he says, let us proceed to the demonstration that took place at Sinai. We must understand not only how this event would serve as proof for those immediately witnessing it, but for future generations as well, as it is stated in Deuteronomy, and they will also teach their children. We must define at the outset what we mean by proof. The term proof, as it is commonly used, has a subjective meaning. We mean proof to the satisfaction of a given individual. As such, it is subject to a wide range of definitions and criteria. There are those for whom even the world of sense perception is doubtful. In order not to get lost in the sea of epistemology, I love that phrase, let us state that the Torah accepts a framework similar to the one a scientist employs. It accepts the world of sense perception and human mind. The events that occurred at Sinai are, according to Torah, valid evidence from which a rational person would conclude, A, that there exists a deity, B, this deity is concerned with man, and C, this deity entrusted Moshe with the task of conveying his system of laws to the people. And this is the sentence I wanted to get to. To anyone who maintains that even if he were at Sinai, he would remain unconvinced, the Torah has little to say. Now, I know that's not directly answering your question, but I think we should stop and think about that for 1 second, which is that if a person says, yeah, if I were at Sinai, I would question whether this is actually God. So that is impossible for the Torah to prove. Like the Torah cannot, if God can literally speak to you and you still wouldn't be convinced that's God speaking to you, then there's no way to convince such a person, right? Now, what you're asking, right? What you're asking is granted that they were all convinced that God was speaking to them. So how does that certainty that it was God transfer to you? Maybe, so, right, yeah, that's
yeah, and let's say like, finish that question of what the time travel is like possible.
Yeah.
Like let's say someone traveled back in time with like extremely sophisticated sound equipment and manufacturers.
Right, the sound system argument. Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
So like, so like maybe people could. So maybe people could be convinced. Yeah.
Right. So I don't think that there's any answer for that question. Okay, meaning I think that if you want to believe that it's kind of like what it reminds me of is like, I can convince you that a bunch of people on 9/11 saw 2 explosions that after planes flying into the towers and they all fell down. But if you said, well, what if an alien civilization with advanced technology like created a belief in everyone that this actually happened, but it wasn't actually planes, it was aliens. I'd say there's absolutely no way to convince you of that, or to debunk that possibility. I think it's not a reasonable possibility, though. Like no rational person would leap to that,
emotional doubt,
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
like
right,
you project to the
right.
same level with
Yeah.
yourself, but like that,
Yeah.
like the same level.
Exactly. Yeah.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
You could say like they could do like hologram
Right.
technology.
Like you're saying, I'm not denying that the people thought they saw the World Trade Centers, but
Yeah,
what if there was something that like we have no reason to believe it was there,
Yeah.
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 Right.
They did like holograms that looked like planes, and then they shot missiles, and then they
Right. And that's where like the thing we mentioned last night with Shadal, that Saji Gaon says that the bigger proof of miracles is the man, and I mentioned, I'm curious if you guys have heard of this, the theory that they say for the man.
Oh, like there's like a plant in the.
Yeah, it's a hallucinogenic thing that like
Yeah.
they were subsisting off of hallucinogens, and like they all hallucinated all of the everything, and like the pillar of fire and the cloud, and survived for 40 years. Like yeah, if you want to believe that, and that they all had the same hallucinations, and that there was no point at which people ate at different schedules, like where you saw like my best buddy's like tripping out, and and none of that happened. Like if you want to believe that, there's no way I can convince you otherwise. But like it's the question of like, is this that's why I say so. The point that Rabbi Chait makes here about the term proof having a subjective meaning. When I give over my Torah Sinai version, I always say there's 3 standards of proof. There's beyond the shadow of a doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt, and by a preponderance of evidence. And there's no way to prove anything beyond the shadow of a doubt except in math and logic. So the standard the Torah is trying for is ideally beyond a reasonable doubt, but at the very least by preponderance of evidence, to the point where you would, given 2 options, you would accept this one as true over the other one, and if a person doesn't want to accept those standards and thinks that there needs to be a higher standard, I think that's like that's an emotional an emotional and inconsistent demand to make of the Torah be held to that standard and nothing else. That's like Freud's thing. Let me look at this other.
Is that the strawberry jam or something?
No, that's that is relevant, but this is a different one. This no, this is a different point. I'm glad you have Bekius in my article.
I actually haven't read that one yet.
Oh, you haven't?
Oh,
Oh yeah. Do you there's a place where Freud gives over all of Torah Sinai, and then at the end, like in the same language that Rebbe uses in his thing, and then at the end he says this is true for all claims about historical events except Moses and Nimrod.
What?
Yeah, I'll post that in the thing. Yeah, but so this is Freud from. It's amazing. Yeah.
Is that in Moses and his thing? Something.
No, it's actually in the context is he's trying to show how can we convince the relatives of our patients that psychoanalysis is true if they can't observe it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So this is from Freud's introductory lectures. He said, which I think is actually where I was quoting that from. He said it would be a mistake to suppose that a science consists entirely of strictly proved species, P-H-E-S-E-S, species. Okay, and that would be and it would be unjust to require this. And then he says only a disposition with a passion for authority will raise such a demand. Someone with a craving to replace his religious catechism by another, though it is a scientific one. Oops, I'm not sharing the screen. Hold on. Though it is another one. Science has only a few apodictic propositions in its catechism. I always forget what apodictic means. I think it means like self-evident or non-falsifiable. I think the rest are assertions promoted by it to some particular degree of probability. It is actually a sign of a scientific mode of thought to find satisfaction in these approximations to certainty and to be able to pursue constructive work further in spite of the absence of final confirmation. So you think basically like if you go to science and you demand that something be absolutely proven, you're basically trying to approach science as if it's religiosity, and what we say is if you try to approach our religion with this demand for absolute certainty as opposed to beyond a reasonable doubt, then you're demanding something beyond what rationality dictates.
So you can't demand anything of that. What about like math or something?
The math you can, yeah. Math and logic or strict logic are the 2 areas that you can have beyond the shadow of a doubt.
Because the axioms necessitate other things.
Yes, right. And the other standard for beyond shadow of a doubt is if it is impossible to think otherwise. And you only have those kinds of things in math. Like you cannot think that a part is bigger than the whole.
Right.
It's literally impossible to think that, or that whatever, like something can be and not be at the same time, Yeah, or other mathematical things. Yeah. Okay, you want to stop here?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But say something like I don't know,